Looks like you lost another one.
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
Welcome to the Summer Showcase. I'm Michael Washington. He's Bryce Lagow.
Lego.
I thought I was going to mess that all up. First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to Shady Sports Network in conjunction with the Huddle Sports Network. This program is not on the Huddle Sports Network, but I wanted to give a shout out to them anyways because you can catch several of our programs through them on Huddle Sports Network, which is streamed through Roku and various other channels, as you saw in the commercial. So I just wanted to give them a quick little segue into, at least for today. Bryce, week one is in the books as always. It's an exciting time if you're if you're a football fan in general, but especially if you're an ELF fan or outdoor football in general. First and foremost, how are you, and what'd you get from week one as far as the action was concerned?
Well, I'm great, man, and it was an exciting week. There were some good games, some not so good games. There were some really good play from certain players and some really not good play from certain players. So we'll talk about that here soon.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we can start right off, actually, right off with the first game. There was 7 games this weekend, which I thought there was 8. I realized that there was 3 bye weeks. I miscalculated last week completely. I thought it was only 2, and I was counting, and I'm like, that's 14. There's 17 teams. Like, my math is completely off on that. So, but Vienna beat VRFR, the Enthroners, 43-18. First and foremost, I want to brag about this a little bit. So, if you guys watched the show last week, or if you watched Overtime, which airs tomorrow night with Milano Seaman quarterback Zach Bronkhorst, I predicted 43-18. Hey, guess what happened? And guess what happened? So what should have happened is I should have played Powerball this week is what I should have done.
There you go. That's what you should.
And I did not do that. So now my moment has fleeted and passed, and I will never win Powerball ever again. So I will, or again, never, ever, period. So anyways, this game pretty well went how we predicted. We predicted Vienna to win.
Yeah.
VRFR, though, looked better than I expected.
They did. And
at least early in the game.
Yes. I thought they got off to a reasonably good start. I thought, hey, maybe this is their chance to get something rolling, but that hot start slowed to a crawl, and Vienna took over.
Well, I think what we saw in this game was the epitome of an offense that wasn't, or I should say, an organization that clearly isn't as well oiled as another organization. And you could see that Vienna was ahead as far as, like, in the realm of having more time together, or having a program in a country that loves American football, right? Like you saw that, and it really showed its ugly head, unfortunately, late in the game, because even though we didn't expect the Enthroners to make a game out of this based upon our score predictions, they were still in it early, and I think that was until that defense started getting worn down. The offense wasn't making the plays that needed to be made, so it was a promising sign to me for any Enthroners fans.
Yeah, if you're an Enthroners fan, I think you should feel really good about the middle of the pack teams in the league coming here pretty soon. I think you can make a game out of them, and heck, probably win 3 or 4 of them.
And Jack Mangel. I
believe it's Mangel.
Is it Mangel? Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I thought it might have been. Obviously in his first start in the ELF or with the Enthroners, played fairly well. I can't complain about how he played. I thought he played really good. He showed a lot more mobility than I was expecting.
Him and Robitaille seem to be the whole offense, honestly.
Yeah.
He did what he could with what he had, and that's all he can do.
And Robitaille looked like a stud out there. I mean, there was one drive. I think it was the last touchdown drive that just everything was him. I think he had 4 catches on that drive, including the touchdown to take it home, and he looked really good. So the Enthroners are just going to get better. They're going to continue to gel, and we'll see as the season goes on what could happen. But it's a much better looking sign for this team that struggled last year in their first year in the ELF.
Yeah, certainly.
Speaking of better looking signs, the Helvetic,
yes,
however you want to call it, the Helvetic Mercenaries.
I think they found themselves a quarterback, buddy. I think they found themselves a quarterback.
Yeah. I really honestly think that they did. Yeah, Carlton Aiken looked really, really good. This team looked much, much better than last year as the guards. New ownership group, new rebranding. The uniforms looked pretty slick. I thought they were pretty.
Yeah.
I thought they were pretty crisp.
Granted, it was against a weakened Barcelona side, but it's still much improved from what it was.
Well, and I was going to come over to the Barcelona side because Barcelona looked much better than I thought they did, and I don't know if it's just the level of where these two are because it's two, what we predict to be middle of the road teams.
Yeah.
Barcelona, like we talked about, got absolutely ravaged by the incoming Madrid Bravos who debut this upcoming week. But overall, I was really impressed with Levi Lewis.
Yeah. I thought he really grew into the game as it went on. I thought as it started off, I wouldn't call him shaky at all.
No.
I thought he was slow to get started a little bit, but once that second, third, fourth quarter hit, he really got comfortable with the offense, and you could see it.
I think it was a feeling out process for him. I think he was trying to gauge, what to expect from this league. Where can he push? Where can he not push? When to push? When not to push? And Barcelona kind of looked fairly good overall. I mean, these close games are going to define and make or break a team, right? Like, if you're on one end of it, chances are you're going to have that toughness and grit all the way through the whole season.
Certainly, yes.
So, Levi Lewis, looked good. He won his ELF debut, but Carlton Aiken definitely could be a problem for teams here in the future.
He has some big playability. He really does. He had that long touchdown run. He's very good on improvisation in the pocket. He's had that deep pass on the left sideline. He looks very good.
That deep pass along the left sideline was one of my favorite throws of the weekend.
Oh yeah, for sure.
In any of the leagues,
it was pretty.
In any of the leagues, it was really good. And that was the other thing about Levi Lewis is it looked like he had very good command of where he wanted the ball. His ball placement was pretty solid for the most part. Like you said, it was a little slow to start off, but as he grew into the game and really put this team on his back, you could see that his ball placement has really, I want to say, improved since his time at Louisiana.
I'd hope so. I mean, not to say that it was poor, but that extra year of development, he's playing pro ball now. You want to see that jump.
Yeah. Well, I just was a little bit surprised because he didn't really play a lot last year. So it was kind of like, what were we going to get from him as well? I still find it very odd to see a left-handed quarterback. It's so weird to me. I don't know why. I grew up with Vic. I love Michael Vick, but it's just really weird. I mean, he played really well though. I mean, I can't complain. It'll be interesting to see as we get into the meat of this schedule what's going to happen with both these teams. But a very intriguing matchup, and we considered it to be one of the biggest wild cards of the weekend, and we got a hell of a game. Probably the best game on the slate this weekend.
Yeah, I'd agree with that for sure.
Next game, Raiders T-Roll rolled into Italy. And we have our first shutout of the season as Milano just could not get going on offense. Got beat 32-0. There is some positives for Milano here. I think the defense actually played better than what the score showed. I think it was just because of the offense not getting going that this defense was worn out in the second half.
I think the defense definitely improved schematically, but I think that tackling is still a foreign concept to them, which needs to be adjusted.
Yeah, they really need to focus on hitting the tackle, the tackling drills and the tackling dummies this year. Zach Bronkhorst was actually interviewed, and he's my co-host, as I said earlier, on Overtime, which will be aired tomorrow. He came out and was like, we need to take accountability. He was like, we just worked hard. We just work on all the basics. The defense played a heck of a game. We left him out to dry and left him on the field for too long, which is what I noted as well. And he goes, we just have to go out and execute better as well, and it starts up front. So honestly, it's probably the most honest answer any quarterback can give. It's not really like coach speak, but that's literally one of the most honest answers that I think we'll ever get from a quarterback.
Oh, certainly. That's it shows what kind of guy he is. He's upstanding. He's willing to take accountability for his shortcomings and get better.
Yeah, Raiders looked solid. It looked very similar to the team that we saw last year. That started early with Christian Strong. I didn't really see it stand out very much any differently. But for Milano, what can they do? Right? Like what can we see the Seamen do to move forward here? Because the offensive line definitely was probably one of the worst performances of the weekend, which in turn caused Zach to not have a very good game, and the offense to not really get going. You got to figure it's got to start with that O-line, right?
Yeah, and when you have an O-line that has issues like that, what you need to do is simplify things. And I can't imagine that they're extremely complicated right now, but they need to simplify it even more. Run inside zone. Don't try and run gap schemes, that kind of stuff. Just run inside zone. Do simple drop back passes. I wouldn't even do quarterback rollouts at this point. Just simplify your offense, get yards, and keep moving down the field.
I think that's fair because I think that's one of the biggest things about football, especially with these guys. These guys only practice 3 days a week. They didn't have a long training camp. They had they're instilling a new offense, instilling a new defense. Like I think one of the things that helps that is just getting back to the basics, like you said, just going back, simplifying, short reads, maybe not so long developing of plays and whatnot, stuff like that. So
West Coast offense kind of feel. Get the ball out quick.
Yeah, I mean, quicker the better. It will help the offensive line. It will help the offensive line get some confidence, and another one's a good run game, but you got to simplify the run game too. Like, don't worry about so much about zone reads, like you said, and all that stuff as well. So, by all means, you know what I just realized before we get into the Sunday games, I completely forgot to mention that the intro to the show was done by Bryce, yours truly over there, and it was absolutely fantastic. Go give him a follow. Go give him a shout out on social media if you want. Awesome videos like that. He does highlights for players as well. I'll let you talk about that though towards the end of the show as well a little bit.
Perfect.
So, all right, let's get into the Sunday slate. Probably the most entertaining game, and the only reason why I said that it wasn't probably the game of the week was because Barcelona and Helvetic went back and forth.
Yeah.
But the most entertaining game was Berlin against Wroclaw because basically, let's face it, Wroclaw was pretty much in the lead, but there were some closing gaps here and there for most of the game. They fell behind early, but then they came back, and once they took the lead, they never really relinquished it. But if you're a Berlin Thunder fan and you're a Panthers fan, you have got to be excited.
Oh, absolutely. Great showings from both teams' offenses. AJ Ventland for Roslaw he's on another run for Defensive Player of the Year. Both QBs were playing very well. There's a lot of positives all around. It's a shame a team had to lose that game. Honestly, they both played very well.
Honestly, it probably is a shame. Jakob Sullivan was kind of I don't. And again, this is another guy that I remember being as mobile, but he showed his mobility.
Mhm.
He diced up the Panthers' defense a little bit and kind of made some plays when it mattered the most. This Panthers offense is without the Matt Cole right now, and when Matt Cole comes back, you got to figure 49 points was the highest total of the weekend, and eh, that could only get more dangerous for teams down the
Exactly.
stretch. You
Yep.
know. Any other feedback from this game or notes of any sort that you saw here?
Well, Aaron Jackson, from what I've
Oh,
seen, is an absolute threat in the open field. We saw the kickoff return. He made some really good catches. I think that's a dark horse for the receiving yards leader this year, and probably special teams player of the year if he continues to return kickoffs like that.
He's electric, and like the one thing about this style of the offense, the kickoffs.
Yeah,
I'm like, stop kicking to him, but I'm like, oh shit, they have
you
to.
kind of have
Like,
to.
there's no choice. Like, they don't have a choice with the rules.
They don't have a
And,
choice. They got to get in that 20-yard box.
Aaron Jackson is legit a threat at any given point in time. Dude is
Absolutely.
legit. Watched him last year. He returned 2 in the week 1 in the first game of the year, I believe. So, and he almost had 2 in this game. He had
Yep.
one called back for a block in the back, but I mean, he's just so electric, and like you said, in the open field specifically, it's huge. So,
Yeah, having a guy like that at this level is enormous for a team.
and it translates on the wide receiver side too. Like,
Oh,
I mean, what he's on the offense. I mean, the guy is just so dynamic. You just got to get the ball into his hands, really. So, I will say I am more impressed with the Panthers secondary. I know they gave up 39 points, but I am more impressed with the secondary this year
yeah.
than I was in week 1 last year. Because week 1 last year was not much fun. We won that game in a shootout as well, but it was pretty ugly on the secondary side of
I
things.
remember the shootout, but I don't know who it was against.
Last year we came out and beat Hamburg.
Hamburg, that's right.
Yep, Hamburg in a shootout, and then they beat us later on in the season. So hopefully that trend doesn't follow, because I mean, I'd hate to see it. The next game on the slate was a game that we all, I think, went the way we expected it to. Not as high scoring as I expected it to. I thought maybe there might have been a chance for a 60 burger. There was not. We didn't even get to 50 this week. But the Rhine Fire defeated the Cologne Centaurans 42-12. I think the score is similar to the Vienna score, where it kind of started off decent early for Cologne.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah. Isaiah Weed surprised me in the first half.
Isaiah Weed, I have in my notes, he didn't look horrible against the best team in the league, which is a plus for any new quarterback in this league. So,
and I think the thing that he played in the GFL 1. He came this year from GFL 2 to make that leap, but
yes,
he had him in the lead early.
He did.
Cologne was up.
And he made some very pretty passes down the sideline to the receivers. And I think this is another case of it looks bad because you're playing a really good team. They're going to get results against worse teams later on in the season.
Jadrian Clark looked like he just was playing like he was last year. I mean, he was just making throws all over the place. And
also in my notes, I have Jadrian Clark is Jadrian Clark and Glenn Tuga is Glenn Tuga. So,
and with the receivers that they lost, they brought in why can't I think of who it was that they brought in? He was making plays all over the place.
He was. It was number 13. I'm forgetting his name.
Kelvin McKnight.
Yes, McKnights. That's right.
Kelvin McKnight played with the UFL, in the XFL, USFL, whichever one you want to call it. But he played in that one lately, and it was almost like that they didn't lose. They didn't lose anybody.
Yeah, I know. It's like they just picked up where they left off.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. I got to admit, it was this Rhine team may have gotten more dangerous than they were last year, and that's scary for the league.
That is extremely scary for the league.
Yeah. One of the last games on the slate, Hamburg against Prague, in another game that the score, it's hard because I think Prague played really well. The score looks closer than what it really is because of some late touchdowns, but it still was like this is what the score I feel like was like should have been based upon how Prague played.
Yeah, Prague came out and blocked that punt, and I was like, "Hey, my prediction might come true," and then it didn't. And then it didn't.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
no, they had some momentum early, and they just couldn't really capitalize on it. Javarian Smith got going early and continued that throughout the game. Corey Lyles, he didn't get going early. He started slow, made some ill-advised throws, and he could never really get it going until it was too late in the game. So,
and I think though that the way that Prague closed is the way that Prague we could see play if they just continue to find a way to gel, right? Like Javarian Smith and Kari Lyles were very similar to, in my opinion, to what we were getting from the Levi Lewis and Carlton Aiken matchup with those teams. Was these are two teams that are either going to be the middle of the road or the bottom half of the league.
yeah.
We don't really know what to expect moving forward, but in this particular game, Javarian Smith looked really good where Kari Lyles kind of struggled to start off with, and that could be, again, first time start, first time jitters. Who knows what could happen with this team, but I still think that if you're Prague, you have to be happy with only a 10-point loss coming out of this.
Yeah, especially how it looked early on. You have to be happy with the result.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think it was 31-7 at one point. So to be able to be able to move that in there, I think it is really good too. And Sam has chimed in and said that Matthew Vitelli would be a great guest with you guys. I agree. I think if we could get Vitelli on, that would be really cool, to be honest with you.
Yeah, all for it.
Hey, don't sleep on Vitelli. He could be on his way to Europe at some point in time here in the near future as well, depending on how these leagues go. And I mean, we don't wish injury on anybody, but we know injuries is the nature of the game. And last year, the ELF had a ton of injuries at the quarterback position, so there was a lot of guys who came and went. So, all right. With that being said, the last game on the slate, the Munich Ravens against the Stuttgart Surge.
Oh boy,
27-5. Stuttgart looking like they came out, and yes, Sam, next week would be great if you can get them on. That'd be awesome. Or if you're in contact with them, that'd be amazing. 5-27 or 27-5, however you want to look at it. Stuttgart kind of looked like the team that made the finals, and is this a situation of week one being week one, or is this a situation was the hype too much for Munich?
I think that Munich is still a good team. I don't think that this is the Munich we're going to see throughout the majority of the year, but it's not a good look to start the season. It's certainly not a good look.
It's not a good look because everybody expected, or at least a lot of people expected Munich to be competing with, some of these top teams, and Stuttgart being one of them, being the runner-up from last year, and then you come out and lay this dunk, this dud of a performance. It's probably not a good way to convince people that you're a contender, right?
And you could absolutely tell that they're missing firepower because of the loss of Markel Castle. And Chad Jeffries, I think, struggled at times because he didn't have that guy who could break the lid open over the top of the defense,
and I don't know if you remember how well your memory is. If you remember what I said about the preview in this game, was I was worried about whether or not the Markel Castle loss at wide receiver would be too much for Munich.
Yeah, that was something we actually disagreed on. I thought that he had enough, honestly. I didn't think that it would be that big of an issue, but apparently it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, this will be another situation where, over time they'll gel because, again, this is another situation where they don't practice 5 days a week or whatever, 2 a days. They do, every, 3 days or whatever it may be. So, Munich is an interesting situation to watch, and we'll see. It's only one loss. It's just not very impressive to start off with, right?
And I want to say that Surge defense was very impressive.
Well, the Surge defense was impressive last year too. They were one of the top teams in the league, if
Oh,
not the top defense in the league. So
I'm very much looking forward to seeing Ryan Fire versus the Surge, just
yeah,
to see how they match up against each other. The best offense against what's looking like the best defense early on.
yeah, I can't wait to see that rematch too from last year's championship game as well, to see if Stuttgart has made any strides towards dethroning them. You know.
Certainly.
All right, we talked about this briefly a little bit. What is one thing that you were impressed with, or that surprised you, or one thing that didn't, that you were surprised that you were not so impressed with?
With the league as a whole,
Yeah, just as this week one,
I'm impressed with the kicking early on. The place kicking has been much improved from what I had seen last season, and something I'm disappointed in would be the production quality for the streams. The commentating and the overall audio quality was not where it needed to be.
Yeah, I had some issues with a lot of the streaming side of things from the Game Pass side. I was very vocal on X. The league ended up liking one of my tweets about, basically I was saying that as us Americans, or anybody in general, I don't even want to just say Americans, but as us in general, we're paying for your service. We shouldn't have to go to the settings option to hit English.
Yeah,
Like it's not something that we should do.
it should be the default.
Right. I mean, for any language, wherever you are located, like it should automatically be that if you have a commentator of any sort, like if it's just English option, it should automatically just be the default. Like we're paying for a service, it should be there. Now I know that the first game, the Vienna game, they had some technical difficulties that kind of led to some issues, but it sounded like the guy was in an echo chamber the whole time. So
yeah. It sounded like it was recorded on a $5 mic.
Yeah, pretty much. It sounded like he was talking in through his cell phone or whatever. So I hope they clean that up. Again, it's still early in the week, and let's be completely honest. To be fair, we're just being critical. It's just constructive criticism. Whereas they are still in their infancy. That's only 4 years in the around. It's just, if you're going to offer a Game Pass like that, it should be offered in a structure if you want to be taken seriously, right? Like it's just.
And I'm going to be a little more critical than you are. It has also been 4 years, guys. Like, let's get it together.
Yeah, that's true. And Sam did say that, to be fair, the commentators are remote. Yes, and I understand that they're remote, but if they're going to be remote, then they need to make sure that their quality is on check with the league, and the league needs to make sure they're correcting that if that's the case. Because it's just you have to understand the image of your league as a whole. The ELF does a great job on social media of presenting themselves as a legitimate league, by all means, and they do a fantastic job presenting everything that they do in a professional manner. That should be going the same for their announcers. They should be the same for their audio quality, everything across the board. So that's just like you said, it is a fair point that it is the 4th year, but let's be honest, it's still in the infancy overall in comparison to some of these leagues, right? Yeah. So one of the things that I was impressed about was, for the most part, quarterback play. Like, you got to figure there's 14 teams playing. I felt like there was probably a good 8 to 9 to 10, somewhere in that range of quarterback play that actually played fairly well. Last year, I do not feel like week 1 was as many. I felt like it was more of a struggle with some of these guys last year, but I feel like overall, the QB play for these teams, and with how often, I mean, we went through the quarterbacks all the way through, all 17 quarterbacks, and I think there was only 4 returning to the same team that they were in on last year. So
you have that many guys, recycling quarterbacks like that. It is impressive to get somebody to play well week 1.
Yeah, I mean, since you stole the kicking from me because I mentioned that in the chat, I figured I'm just kidding.
I know, my bad.
We did talk about the kicking in the chat pre show, but it's fine. I wanted to talk about quarterback play because I honestly felt like with as many changes that were made, there was 13 new quarterbacks, not new to the league, but new quarterbacks with teams It for the most part, it was pretty impressive for the first week.
No, I 100% agree. It's good. It's a good look for the league where you can get guys ready to go right away.
Yeah. One of the things that I was not impressed about, or more of like a surprising not impressed, is the Munich Ravens offensive line. And primarily reason being Joe Thomas being part of this organization.
I know. I was thinking the same thing. I was
Now,
seeing this get bullied.
now, don't get me wrong. I understand that there is a talent gap between Joe Thomas and the guys that he's coaching or whatever it may be. But I felt like there was a lot of technique mistakes, and I don't know if that's just coming from the lack of experience for the offensive line.
It would have to be. There's no way that Joe Thomas isn't teaching technique to a T.
Right. That's what I mean. So I hope they just continue to get better. I just expected maybe better from a team in Germany, considering their track record with football and
Especially
uh,
linemen.
right, especially with linemen and whatnot. So we'll see if week 2 cleans that up, or the next time they play, because I don't know if they play week 2 or not. But we'll see if yeah, they do play week 2. So we'll see if they can clean that up here moving forward, and what will happen. So you know, it just, that was probably my biggest disappointment, because I just expected much more from the Munich Ravens as a whole, and I really feel like that offensive line was part of the struggle.
No, yeah, certainly.
All right, let's jump into our previews. Right, let's just we'll just move right along. We're cruising right now. We're half hour in. We're cruising. Look at this. Half hour in. We're cruising. We're cruising. Getting everything that we needed to say out of this, and move on. All right, week 1. This is week 2, game 1. This is going to be a big one. The Stuttgart Surge are traveling to Poland to take on the Wrocław Panthers.
Oh yeah.
That is an 11 a.m. Eastern game on June 1st. It's the first game of the week. That's just insane to me. The Panthers, there's some hopes, and seeing the outburst that they had this past weekend, is there any hope that they could pull off this upset?
If it becomes a physical football game, I think that Stuttgart will win.
Okay.
Wrocław cannot allow this game to be decided in the trenches. It needs to be high flying offensive like it was this past week for them.
Okay. We got a score prediction? Sam, if you're listening, write these down, because I forgot it again.
Oh, man. Should I go first?
Yeah, go ahead and give me a score. I mean,
right,
you already gave you a little bit of a preview, so go ahead.
All right. I want Wrocław to win. So I'm going to go high scoring. And it's going to be 41-33.
41-33. Okay. All right. I'm going to be on the opposite side of this, because I think if this game can be physical from an offensive standpoint for the Panthers, as in ball control, I think that they can control this game against the Stuttgart defense over time. This is not the Munich Ravens offense. This offense looked a little more polished. If they can find a way to get Brzezinski? No, it's not Brzezinski.
Brzezowski.
Brzezowski? Is that Brzezowski? If they can get Brzezowski, and if they can get what was his name? Gennari Evans? Was it Evans?
I think it was Evans. I didn't know how to say his first name.
I think they call him Jenna, is Gena, but I think his name is actually Gennari. He had 3 touchdowns last week. So I mean, dude stood out across the board. They got him involved in this offense. If the Panthers start slow, it's going to hurt them. If they can come out and slap Stuttgart in the face, I think that it's going to make a statement early. I'm going to go semi-high scoring. I think Wrocław wins this, pulls it out 31-25.
All right.
31-25. I say semi-high scoring because it's not going to be as high scoring for them last week like it was last week. But Stuttgart only scored 27 against this Munich Ravens team, and let's be honest, with as bad as that offense looked, like if that had been any of the other teams that were high scoring this past weekend, they probably would have put the 60 burger on I talked about with Ryan.
Yeah, and that's why I say I think it needs for the Panthers to be high scoring.
Yeah. I think Riley Hennessy didn't look as good as I expected him to, though, either. I don't know if that was just Munich's defense being really having a solid game plan, but he just didn't look like the same Riley Hennessy as I saw last year.
I will say I saw some really good moments out of him.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, I would like to see more consistency as well.
Yeah, because the consistency was a problem. All right, hey, in the second game, an hour later, it gets just more as intense. The Raiders T-Roll take on the Vienna Vikings.
Oh boy, that's a derby.
Yeah, I mean, D'Angelo Fulford looked really good in his debut. I mean, Milano didn't look so good, so it could be curved. But this is a Vienna Vikings team that looked solid against Vierfar, of course. So, what should we expect here?
Well, both of the Austrian teams didn't exactly play the best competition. So I think you can't take too much from the first game. But from what I saw, both teams have, very good quarterbacks who can succeed at this level and make plays when needed. So I think it's going to be a close one. I don't know how I'm going to decide who's going to win this game because I think it's going to be very close.
Yeah, this is going to be. I didn't give a score prediction for the last one. What's your score prediction for this one? You're not getting off the hook with it's too close to call. Like that, you're going to have to
28-24 28-24 Vienna.
28-24 Vienna. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that this game is going to be very close. I think there's a lot of similarities between these two teams.
Certainly.
I think they have really solid defenses with really steady offenses, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
So the only thing that I will say is the experience side on Vienna is obviously always going to play a factor into some of these games, especially when it comes to who they have. Ben Holmes everybody was projecting him as a front runner for the MVP. There is still a chance that he's going to run into some hiccups considering it's a new, it's a new team, it's a new situation for him, but he's played at a much higher level in outdoor football. I would say more so than Fulford, but D'Angelo did look good last week. It's just
he looks good, and Ben Holmes, in my opinion, like he had good moments, but he also had some shaky moments. He had that pick six.
Yeah, that pick six was insane. Fulford is a guy that's hard to grade because of how bad Milano looked overall. So it's really hard to gauge here. I agree with you. I think this is going to be close. I'm going to say Vienna, though, 27-21.
All right.
I think it's going to be 27-21. I think that's where I'm going to go with that one. I hope somebody's writing. I gotta remember to bring a notebook and pen next time with me so I can write these down.
Come on, Sam.
So, yeah, I don't. Yeah. Well, whatever. I guess I don't have anything here. Whatever. All right. Next game, we have a debuting team. Overall, completely, for sure, everything. Expansion team. The Barcelona in-country rivalry. The Barcelona Dragons versus the Madrid Bravos. We talked about how Madrid kind of took a lot of the Barcelona players, a lot of the Spain National League, team. What's the projection? What's the prediction here?
Man, see, I'm gonna go Barcelona, and that's really just because they have an extra game under their belt, and they have kind of like an idea of what they are already with Levi Lewis at quarterback. And Madrid, obviously, that they have the players, but they don't have that yet.
Okay, all right. I mean, I can't be too I guess surprised that you would take Barcelona in this situation. Do you remember? I got a little pencil here. I found a pencil, so
perfect.
I'm writing this on the back of a receipt here. Warclaw, do you remember your score for that one?
I believe I said 41-33. World Claw.
41-33, and I said 31. What was 31
You
to
said 31-25.
25? Yeah, I think I did. All right, and then for T-Roll in Vienna, you said, I said
28-24.
and I said 27-21.
Yes.
All right, and then for Barcelona and Madrid. See, I should have just reminded myself to do this. All right, what did you say was the score here?
Oh, Sam just said he's writing them down.
Oh, awesome, perfect. I guess I can. I just spent. You could have just commented that earlier.
We're here writing on the receipts because we didn't know you were writing them down. Come on. Man.
I didn't know if you were still. I appreciate you writing them down, Sam. I'll make sure next week I can take that off your plate. Okay, so I agree. Madrid coming out, very first game. Don't really know what to expect. Chris Helbig has the experience though, and
Certainly yes.
winning experience. Just with a new team, franchise mode, new franchise. Madrid should be rocking though. This place should be full.
It should be rocking, but I would not be surprised at all if Barcelona gets it done.
I think that game and it being close, I think that's the key. The game being close last week against Helvetic. I think Barcelona learned a lot about themselves in week 1.
Oh, certainly. I think that this could be Levi Lewis's breakout week, the start of his MVP run if he really has a really good game against Madrid.
I'm going to go against the grain here, and I'm going against the Madrid hype. I'm with you. I think Barcelona wins this game. It's going to be close. This game will probably end up being something like 27-26 Barcelona.
I'm going to shock you. I'm going to go for a bit of a blowout. I'm
going to
go 31-16 Barcelona.
And to be fully honest with you, it's surprising that I'm as conservatively aggressive with an expansion team. Usually when it comes to an expansion team, I'm like, it's going to be miserable. It's going to be terrible. But Chris Helbig, though, really makes a difference to me. And
they've done a really good job putting this roster together as well.
Yeah, so I think they're going to be more impressive, but I think that it will be interesting to see what happens with the with the team, as a whole. Sam, you're fine, buddy. I was just messing with you. He said, "Sorry, buddy, was missing stuff," as I was giving him shit about not writing.
No, Sam, you gotta be better. You gotta be better, Sam.
Be better, Sam. Be better. Do better. All right, here we go. The last game on the Saturday slate. The two most disappointing teams in week 1. The Munich Ravens travel to Italy to take on the Milano Seamen. First and foremost, I just want to say something real quick. I saw the attendance figures for Milano in week 1, and they only drew 800 people according to the official.
Yeah.
And I know that American football is probably still kind of a overall fresh, concept over there, but they do have the Italian Football League.
Exactly. I agree with you on that. It is bigger than that.
Yeah. So and Milano's part of that Italian Football League. So it's not like that this is not a organization that hasn't been around. So hopefully they can turn it around this week and kind of give fans a reason to show up to games, right? Hopefully it's on another 32-0 blowout.
Yeah. Are they similar to how the Austrian teams do it, where they keep an AFL team and an ELF team as well, or an Italian team and an ELF team?
I'm not 100%. I believe that this team. To be honest with you, I'm not really sure. I just know that there's a Milano Seamen in the IFL and the Italian Football League, and I believe it's this one. But I'd have to either have somebody correct me in the comments, or I'd have to contact somebody that I know a little bit more about that. So
if they are still one organization, I'm very interested to see the IFL attendance, because is it an issue of people knowing, they're going to lose, I don't want to go to that game, or do they actually just not support the team?
Yeah, I just find it a little bit disappointing. I know Italy can do better. I know Milano can do better. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that this turn that they can give the fans a reason to show up to these games this week. So, with that being said, Munich, Milano, what's your preview and prediction of this game?
As disappointing as Munich was, Milano was worse. So I'm gonna go 24-10. Munich.
This is. I figured it was Munich that you were talking about. This is the definition of, I mean, let's face it, these two teams combined for 5 points total in week 1.
Yeah.
It was not a very pretty week 1 for either team. So, like, they have to hard reset, right? It's going to be a hard reset for both teams.
Absolutely.
As much as I love having my co-host Zach with me on Overtime, I think Chad Jeffries is going to be the difference maker for this. Now, Zach has said all the right things, so I expect a better performance from Milano this week. I just don't know if that team is quite there yet. I think they're going to do a little bit better than 10 points, but if they can get back to the basics, I think that they can put some points on the board, and maybe they'll surprise some teams. Maybe they'll actually come out and be a lot more aggressive and a lot more, well balanced than they were
they need
last
some
week.
aggression. Their DBs need some aggression. They need to tackle some people.
Yeah, they definitely need to tackle. That's for sure. I'm going to say Munich 23, Milano 16. 7-point game. Maybe it's a late touchdown for Milano to get on the board. I don't know. I don't expect them to be shut out again, and I don't expect the offense to struggle as much heading into this week. So, in Munich, until I see a little bit more, that offensive line, man, is so questionable. So questionable. Yeah. All right. Start of the Sunday games. Prague, you picked them last week. They let you down.
Regrettably, yes.
But they take on Berlin this week, who scored 39 against Warklaw in a losing effort last week. This feels lopsided, possibly, but
I can't see Prague keeping up with Berlin's offense, unfortunately.
Yeah. Jakob Sullivan's going to be a difference maker. If Prague could find a way to contain him, maybe, but I just don't think they're going to.
He really showed his quality last week, and I think he'll do that again.
I think what Prague needs to look for in this game is continuing development and improvement from Kyrie Lyles. Mm-hmm. Like, they just need to see to continue it, right? Like, I don't think anybody came into the season, including Prague themselves, thinking, hey, we're going to be contenders. I think that they want to just see steady improvement for this organization, being involved in games as the season goes on, and just continue to play, right? Like, that's just what they want.
Yeah.
So, what's your score prediction for this one?
Whew. All right. I think
it could get ugly.
I'm going to be a little conservative with my score. I'm going to go Berlin 32, Prague 16. I think 16 is going to be a very common score this week.
It's very possible it could be. It's very possible. I'm going to be a little more aggressive. I think Berlin will dump 42 on them. 42. And I think Prague will continue to make strides and continue to improve. So I'm going to say 42-19.
Okay.
I think they're just under that 20 marker, but the score itself doesn't reflect the 21-point effort they put out last week, because that score was so late in the week.
Yeah, late
in the game. But I think the 19 will come as it moves on. Maybe they get another late touchdown and go over 20, but I think 19's fair. But as long as they play hard and aggressive, I think it will be. I just think that the fourth quarter is going to be the difference maker.
Certainly, and that fourth quarter last week for the Lions was good. Kyrie Lyles started to get into the game. If he can just capitalize on that this week, it might surprise people. Who knows?
It's very possible. It's very possible. Making their 2024 debut this week, the Zach Edwards-led Paris Musketeers taking on the Hamburg Sea Devils. Hamburg had the 31-21 victory over Prague last week. Mm-hmm. Zach Edwards, we talked about already about how decorated he is at the ELF level.
Yes.
Paris had a lot of hype surrounding them last year. They missed the playoffs, but they were a tough out for the most part. Does this team make the next step?
I think they do. I think that they will be able to keep Zach Edwards off the ground, which was the big issue at his last stop. And I think that they're going to beat some teams that they, on paper, shouldn't beat, and I think they'll get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think Paris has a very legitimate chance of making the playoffs this year. They are Zach Edwards is always good to have under center for your team, and if this offense looks as good as it potentially can, and the defense improves based off of last year, then they definitely have a chance to make the playoffs. Do you have a score prediction for this game?
Ooh. I'm gonna go Paris taking the dub. I'm gonna go 28-21.
28-21. Okay. I'm taking Paris as well. I like this Hamburg team. I think Javarian Smith is still a little bit of a wild card, a little bit of an unknown.
Yeah.
Looked good last week, but we'll see if Paris is the step up in competition or if Javarian Smith is for real this game. I think he impresses, or at least he flashes impressiveness.
Exactly. Yeah. It just wasn't as convincing as I'd like to see against Prague.
Yes.
But he has the ability, certainly.
Yeah. So I'm going to say Paris 33, Hamburg 20, 33-20. The two score game. I think that Paris holds on and wins this game. All right. This is an interesting one. VRFR, the Enthroners, traveled to Cologne to take on the Centaurans.
Ooh.
They both started off really strong and then faltered in the second half or in the second quarter. What can we expect from this game?
I think you see Jack May do really good things this week. I like his ability, as long as he is able to roll every time. But if he's able to get it going, I don't think that Feyenoord is going to win, but they're going to put up a pretty good fight.
So what's your score prediction then?
Let's go 31-25. It's going to be a bit Feyenoord's, I don't want to say breakout game, but hey, we can play some football,
Are you? So you're taking the Enthroners on this one?
I am. Oh no.
Cologne.
Yeah.
Okay, you're taking Cologne. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'm on the opposite end of you. I think this game's going to be fairly low scoring. I think it's going to be a two evenly matched teams, right? VRFR scored 18 last week. Cologne scored 12. Mm-hmm. They both kind of were in their games early on in the game. I expect another fairly low scoring affair. Both these teams may not break 20 this week, but I expect to see a tough, hard-nosed fought game, and I think VRFR actually wins. I think Jack Mengel and Robitaille is a difference maker on this team. So I think they win. I think they're going to score 17, and I think Cologne will score 14. I think it's going to be a 3-point game.
Barn burner.
So barn burner of a game. Hey, I like defensive games, so for me, I'm all about that. So, but I if there's betting in this with over under, I'm taking the under all day in that game. So taking the under all day. And then the last game features the third team that's making this 2024 debut, the Frankfurt Galaxy. They're at home, and they welcome in the defending champs, the Rhine Fire. In-country rivalry here, yeah. In-country rivalry here. Frankfurt is undergoing a new, quarterback with Luke. What is it, Zaraka? Zaraka. So, what's the what's your take on this one?
Look, Luke Zaraka, he's a very good player. Won the silver medal with the Italian team at the World Championships this past summer. He's not Adrian Clark, and that's the biggest issue for.
Yeah, I feel like this game it's going to be interesting. We're going to be able to see where Frankfurt is with Zaraka at quarterback in comparison to Sullivan last year. Like I said, this team struggled last year when Sullivan went down. Zaraka played fairly well for Milano last year. They had a very good offense, not so good of a defense. So Frankfurt had a little bit better of a defense. They were in it. I believe they made the playoffs, didn't they?
I
last
believe
year?
they were the wild card.
I think they made the playoffs last year. Actually, I think they might have beaten Warclaw to get it to move in.
Yes.
So this team will be interesting because this is going to be another one of those will they compete and get there at the end of the year type of situations. This is a great test for them. It's early in the year, very first game. So even if they lose, it doesn't really hurt them down the stretch. They can easily rebound off of this game. I think Ryan still wins this game just because let's just face it, until they're knocked off, they're favorite every week.
I'm just gonna tell y'all for the entire season, I'm picking Ryan every single game.
Every single game, Ryan.
Every single game until they prove otherwise.
Yeah, for sure. So the Ryan Fire for me in this game. And did you pick a score in this one? I don't know.
I haven't yet.
You haven't yet. Okay, what's your score prediction here? Because this is going to be an interesting one.
Look, it's gonna be a 40 burger still. I think it's gonna be a 42-24 type game.
42-24. Okay. I always like to be a little more conservative in my scores, but the ELF man has proven that you can't be conservative sometimes. So, 38-32.
Ooh,
Ryan Fire.
Give the Fire a little bit of a scare.
Ryan's known to win some close games. 38-32. I think that they win another close one here as well. All right, Bryce, do you want to have anything that you want to say real quick? Plug anything that you want. If you have a shout out to anybody, by all means, go ahead, my man.
Well, I am doing sort of a countdown to football season, or I should say American football season, where I'm releasing a new TikTok or Instagram reel, YouTube short every day until then. So be sure to check those out at Pylon Productions on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And right now, that's it.
Nice. Any highlight packages you're working on?
Oh yeah, I'm working on. I will be working on ELF guys. I'm currently wrapping up my UFL guys, and I just started Sam Castranova's highlight, leading passer in the IFL. So
in the IFL, hell yeah, yeah, for sure. Mark said, "Go Seaman" with the laughing face. Thank you, my man. Mark is my boy. He's my co-host of Dynasty Academy that can be found on the Huddle Sports Network. With through the Shady Sports Network as well. So, Mark, thank you for tuning in, my man, and go Seaman. Right? Like, I'm a Panthers fan, so but I'll make sure to let Zach know that you're cheering for him. I have pretty much all the socials. I don't want to go through them all. I have Insta, I have Threads, I have X, I have Blue. You can find me on Facebook with my name. Blue Sky is in case you guys don't know what Blue Sky is, it's a new social media platform that's very similar to Twitter. It's actually run by a lot of the old X and Twitter employees, but I actually enjoy it a lot more than Twitter. I don't have as much clutter. It's actually quite fantastic. It's actually very nice. So if you guys don't have it, download it. I think it should be open to everybody now. It used to be invite only, but I think it should be open for everybody now. Shameless plug for Blue Sky. Maybe we can get a sponsorship, whatever. As well. Let's actually hear from our sponsor before we sign off. Until next week, I'm Michael Washington. He's Bryce Lagow. And Lego. Yeah. This has been the Summer Showcase covering everything ELF here from all summer long.
This is Current. It's the card my parents used to pay me for mowing the lawn, running errands, and doing well in school. Oh, wow. This is the card I used when we got the idea to make our own clothes. And we spread the word, drove downtown, and sold everything we made. This is the card I use to do the things that really matter. This is Current. Visit current.com and download the app for free today.
Looks like you lost another one.